Hi, and welcome to the Designer Showcase. I am Rose Bolson, the current high school intern at Indiana Fashion Foundation. And today we are going to learn more about your story as a designer, your experience at Indiana Fashion Week, and also everything you've been doing since. So thank you so much for joining me. If you would like to introduce yourself, go ahead.
Hello, I am Tendai Phillips, and I am the founder and creative director of Redefinition Clothing. I reside in Indiana.
Amazing. And you were born and raised in Zimbabwe, is this correct?
Yes.
And
I
so,
moved out here when I was 18.
wow. And now you're living in Indianapolis.
I've been living in Indiana since I moved to the US.
Yeah. And so how has living in two very different cities inspired your fashion designs?
Just basically being from I would say I'm pretty much coming from two cultural backgrounds, because for the first 18 years of my life I was in Zimbabwe, so that was like totally different, and then half of that I'm over here experiencing something else totally different. So I think it's opened up so many doors for me, and I'm able to explore different cultures and understand them from a whole entire different perspective.
Right, definitely. And did this experience inspire the name of your company Redefinition, or did something else inspire that name?
A little bit of that. And when I was in school, how I came up with the name, I used to like a lot of the Rococo period. So I was so fascinated by, like the bouquets, the flowers, and guys wearing like floral stuff. So I was just like, you know what? I think redefining fashion sounds like a good idea. Like let's get back into people being comfortable wearing whatever they want to wear. So that's where the name came from. So you get to you define fashion however you feel fashion is to you.
Yeah, definitely. And so what has been like the biggest challenge, would you say, of like that you've had to overcome as you've like forged your path in the fashion design world?
Honestly, I would say like exposure, because Indiana is not known to be a fashion capital.
Yeah.
So we kind of tend to get ignored and overlooked, because, when you think of New York, Chicago, Texas, like people are automatically like, oh my gosh, fashion, but when you talk about Indiana, people, be like, where is Indiana on the map? So
Yeah.
we kind of get overlooked, but, even though it is for a while it was a major challenge, I think in the digital world it's very easy now, because you can still do whatever you want to do wherever you are, and just use the internet to make connections and network.
Yeah. And so going off of that, why did you choose Indiana? And would you ever consider moving to like a larger fashion capital?
So like my number one fashion capital would be going to LA.
Yeah.
That would be my ideal. First of all, the weather is good. I like, the beach and everything like that. But Indiana, so my dad was over here. So I had no choice.
Right. Um, and did you when you moved here, did you ever hear about Indiana Fashion Week, or was your first exposure when you were inquired to be in it?
So I did hear about Indiana Fashion Week, I think maybe about 3 years ago. Maybe they had just started. I'm not
Yeah.
quite sure, but I heard about it. But like sometimes, because we are such a small network, it kind of don't know exactly where to go. So I remember meeting Denisha in the parking lot, at the old studio place, because I have a studio over in the same building, and she saw me pushing a dress form. So she was like, "Oh, hey, you do fashion?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh, it'll be lovely if you join us." And so she basically introduced me to Indiana Fashion Week. But that year I couldn't do it because I already had other commitments. So then they looked for me the following year, I think, which was last year, and I was able to, kind of join as well, which was kind of fun.
Yeah, and how was the process of preparing for Indiana Fashion Week?
Anything that you prepare for fashion is very stressful. There's a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of, back and forth, like with ideas. So I'm one of those designers that when I'm designing, I start with something that's just like a basic. And then I design as I go. So like if I come up with an idea in the moment, I'll go and change it up. And sometimes that works out well. Sometimes it doesn't, because like when I have an idea in my head and I put it out there, and then I'm like looking at it, I'm like, it was not as it was so good in my head, but not as good as it is. So there's a lot of like back and forth and a lot of stress in just preparing for it.
Yeah. And did you, like, while you were preparing, did you have like a certain goal in mind, or a specific like theme that you wanted to put out there with your collection?
I actually didn't, because it all happened so fast. I didn't have that much time to prepare, because when I finally got to my emails, when you're working by yourself, sometimes you're like a little bit of everything, from assistants to the person that, that runs errands. So, so like by the time I got the email, when they sent me an invitation, it was like, I think I only had about 2 months or so to prepare. And that's such a short time. So, and once I make a commitment, I don't like backing out of commitments. But I was just like, hey, so I don't think I will have enough time to prepare anything. But she's like, no, that's okay. You can showcase some of your work that you already have, since you're like, the highlighted like designer. I was like, okay, cool. So it took a lot of pressure off of me, because I actually had other commitments that were going on around the same time. So my whole entire goal was to just get some introduce myself basically to to the circle, like, hey, this is who I am. So I took my best work from my previous projects, and then I added like I think 3 or 4 more pieces. So the pressure was not as much, like than starting from scratch in 2 months. That's a lot.
Yeah. And you just mentioned that you were the feature designer, and I wanted to talk about that a little bit. So how can you explain this a little bit? How was that experience?
It was cool. Honestly, like, because I don't really know that many people, like that many designers in Indiana. Like I said, maybe I'm the one who doesn't network as much. I probably need to get myself out there, but it was awesome just meeting other designers, seeing what people in Indiana are doing, because most people that I know either move to New York or they move to, to the bigger fashion capitals. So it's like, okay, you kind of feel like alone when you're over here, but just knowing like there's other designers out there that are doing the same things, it was pretty cool to be in that creative setting. And just the experience, just the honor of being a featured designer. It's like, oh my gosh, finally somebody is like seeing my work out there and they're appreciating my work. And it was pretty cool just being introduced to the fashion community.
Definitely. And I know there were so many like intricate details that kind of go unnoticed to the audience, such as like hair and like makeup. And so did you design your model's hair and makeup as well? And did you have like a certain idea for that? Or was it more so just like, go out there?
See, for me, when I tend not to put too much pressure on people, because again, with the models too, I have to put into consideration, like if somebody comes with a different hairstyle, they don't feel like, maybe they just got their hair done and they don't feel like, getting their hair messed up, because I know women and their hair, it's like we are very particular about, certain things that, like if I want my hair to be straight, that's how I like my hair to be straight. So I try to be very lax about like things like that. So when they ask me like, hey, hair, and I was like, look, once I see my models in person, we'll see what kind of hairstyles they have. We'll work with what they do have. As far as makeup is like, that was the only thing that I was like, okay, just make sure it looks very natural, very subtle, nothing too glammed up, because I design a lot of street style. So I didn't want to take too much attention from the clothes by putting like, like crazy makeup or anything like that. So for hair, I just go with the flow. Whatever hair you have, we will style whatever you got on your head.
I love that. I love that flexibility. What would you say like your favorite part of Indiana Fashion Week was?
I think meeting the models and networking with the hair and makeup people. That was because with the designers, I think I know Denisha and one of the designers, and it was nice to actually see, the other designers. So everything, just networking in general was pretty cool. Just being exposed to other people that are doing the same things.
Definitely. Yeah. And speaking of like networking, getting your name out there, do you have like any current projects, or how can we buy from you? Like, do you have a website? Just let us know how we can support you in any way.
So like right now I have, I collaborate with Shein. So I am with Shein, the incubator program that they have, the Shein X. So I do collections on there. If you go on shein.com/redefinition, you should be able to find me if you go under Shein X Designers. You can also go on my Instagram, and there's a link that will take you directly to my collections. My website right now is under construction because I'm working on some projects to be able to add new products on there. So like for right now, it's not necessarily like, functional, but once it's up and going, you can visit redefinitionclothing.com.
Amazing. Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned Shein, because I was just about to ask you about it. When I was researching, I was like, oh my gosh, like no way. And I clicked on your collection and I was just like, this is so cool. So did this all happen after Indiana Fashion Week? Like, what was the timeline of this?
So Shein happened before Indiana Fashion Week. So like I said, the first time I met Denisha, I was in a competition with Shein, like their 100K challenge. So that was the big project I was working on. So that's why I couldn't attend the first invitation she extended to me. I was like, I can try, but I don't have enough time, and I don't like stretching myself so thin. It's somebody who like, just works with her designs just like like freely like that. Sometimes it's kind of hard for me to manage my time, because then I kind of get lost in designing, and I didn't want to put too much pressure on myself by adding on another project. But yeah, Shein happened before the Indiana Fashion Week.
Yeah. And how was designing for Shein, like such a large like network? How was that experience, and what did you feel when you won?
Well, so I didn't win the 100K challenge, but I made it all the way to the top 5, which was amazing because again, you're competing with other designers literally all over the world. Like we have people from, England, and just making it into the top 5 out of, I think we had about 20 or 15 designers. Like I think it was more than that actually when we first started, and then selected to go into the top 30. Yeah, so it was out of 30 people made it into the top 5. So it was just like, it was incredible. Like just designing for them honestly gives you it gives me that that boost of confidence. Like I'm actually following my dreams, and I'm actually doing it. Because for the longest I would question myself, like, well, am I doing it right? Like, is anybody gonna like what I'm designing? Am I just like, wasting my time? So it's a validation knowing that, when you produce something and you see people buying and you're like, oh my gosh, there's actually somebody out there, even if it's just one person, there's someone out there that actually likes me, that likes what I'm doing. So you know what, it kind of gives you that boost of confidence to just keep going.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing about that. So just some more like extra fun questions. What would you say your greatest strength as a designer is?
I think being flexible. So as a designer, it's like that's one of the hardest things to be flexible, because we are pretty stuck in our ways. If I like things, I like them a certain way.
Right.
But for me, it's like I try to kind of step away from that and try to put myself in other people's shoes, see from their point of view. I feel like, to me, that it's like the greatest strength you can have as a designer.
Yeah, definitely. Another is, what are some of your favorite brands right now, or favorite designers?
I don't have one in particular. I have my own favorite designer right now.
I love that. I love that.
I tend not to follow trends like that. So I'm like, I might look at them just to get some kind of inspiration, but then I try to come up with my own things. So I think I'm my own favorite designer.
I love that. I love that. And so I would just say, like, redefinition as a whole, like, can you just explain that a little bit, like your goals, your motives, like everything about your designs, like what you like to design? You mentioned you like street style, just a little bit more about your way of designing.
So redefinition, it's a combination of pop culture, streetwear, and current trends, and a little bit of, myself in it. So like things that if I see a skirt on someone, I try to be like, okay, how can we make it less boring? Instead of just having a skirt, let's make it fun, let's make it interesting. Let's go out there. I'm also redefining, fashion.
Right.
Just like, like how I'm trying to encourage. So that's redefinition, just trying to encourage people to, like, be yourself. If you think an idea is crazy, it might be crazy to other people, but if you're loving the idea, why not? Go out there, redefine life. Because it just doesn't stop at clothing. Like, redefine anything that you want in life according to you, not according to everybody else around you. So like, I design for women and men, but my most favorite thing to do is to combine the two and do unisex and like non-binary.
Right.
I don't, I like, because for the longest, my biggest thing was women, we have a lot of clothes, less pockets.
Yes.
That's a problem.
Yes.
That is a problem. Guys have fewer choices, but loads and loads of pockets. So I wanted to be the solution to women's problems. And because one time I bought some joggers.
Yeah.
And I wanted pockets.
Yeah.
And I wanted them to be baggy.
Yeah.
And guess what? They came and they were like almost like leggings.
Yeah.
That kind of beats the purpose of them being joggers, because compared to one of my best friends, he bought this from the same brand. We bought these joggers at the same time, His were loose, got pockets, it had everything I wanted mine to be like. So I was like, okay. And I know women like wearing guys' hoodies. They're like the most comfortable hoodies on earth. It's like, what are we doing to women, and why are we catering more to men and giving them all these functionalities in comfort and not giving the same to women? So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna design unisex. If my boyfriend, my husband, anybody else that's on the opposite sex is wearing something, we should be able to share that. and you'll be comfortable. So that's how, redefinition came about. We're about to change things. We're about to be sharing. If we buy a sweater, it's ours. It's not yours. It's not mine. It's ours.
Right. I love that. My friends and I are always joking about how we're always carrying so much stuff as women. Like that's why we have like purses and stuff. But
right. But it's a marketing strategy though.
Right. Like sometimes I just want a pocket,
Right. I just want one pocket. Is that too much to ask for?
Yeah. Like majority of my joggers upstairs like don't have pockets. And I always find myself like, I'm like, oh my gosh. Right. And also I think it's interesting with like dresses and skirts. Like I feel like recently a lot of designers are incorporating pockets into like dresses, like even wedding dresses I've seen like with pockets, which is so amazing. So yeah.
Pockets are like a controversial issue in women's clothing. It's like you would think something so small is not going to be significant, but it's a big deal. It's a big deal because we're all trying to save money right now. I don't have time to go and buy a big purse so I can put my cell phone. Just give me pockets so I can put my cell phone and my keys and I'm out.
Yeah.
But, back in the day, I think that strategy worked is since women are like more consumers than men, so it was a good marketing strategy to say, hey, let's not put pockets in big clothes and sell them a purse.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems so simple, yet it's happening, So I love that you're trying to change that narrative about women's clothing. And so is there anything else that you want to share before we close?
Anything
anything you want.
So I am currently running, like if you go on my Instagram you'll probably see it, but I have a Shein competition that I'm doing, another competition.
Awesome.
This one is we had to pair up with an artist, so I paired up with this amazing artist from Brazil, and he did the graphics, I designed, and we kind of like combined our styles. So the competition will be opening up on the 15th. I need people from Indiana to go and vote for their girl, and let's get Indiana on the map.
Definitely.
Let's show them that we are here, and they should pay attention to us as well, because we're forced to be reckoned.
Yeah, I will definitely go vote for you and share that on both of the Instagrams. Everybody watching should go vote right now once it's out. So yes, thank you so much for your time today. Indiana Fashion Foundation is always trying to amplify voices and share designer stories and businesses. So thank you for allowing us to do that today. And I just can't wait to see what's in store for Redefinition Clothing in the future. And thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was awesome. Hope to see you. Said you're in high school, right?
Yes.
Well, I hope to see you in filmmaking and all the other stuff that you're like pursuing. This is great. I'm honestly very thankful to the Indiana Fashion Association for just including me in this. They've been amazing, and honestly, I would recommend anybody to check them out and see what they got in store, because you don't want to miss out when Indiana is coming on the top with fashion.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much.
All right.